What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship is taking place this weekend, just a few short days from the time of recording this video, and I've been thinking a lot about the World Championship in general, because if you guys have been fans of my channel for any duration of time, you guys know that I love competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! My whole channel's basically just built on the foundation of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! So it really should come as no surprise that the World Championship, ideally the pinnacle of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Play, is something that gets me excited. But, you know, just as hockey has the Stanley Cup and basketball has, you know, the playoffs, is the World Championship really an equivalent to that for Yu-Gi-Oh? I don't really know, because it doesn't really feel the same as it would for something like a sporting event, and that's kind of what I wanted to discuss today. I wanted to discuss some things about the World Championship that it should be the most hyped, the most epic Yu-Gi-Oh! Event we had to look forward to for the entire year, but it doesn't exactly feel like that. So before we get into that, though, I want to give a huge shout out to my newest patrons and YouTube channel members. So big shout outs today to Brett, Brandon, and Ben over on Patreon, as well as Chase, Ben, and ya boy Guzma as new YouTube channel members. You guys are the reason that this channel is growing strong. And if you guys are interested in becoming a patron or supporting me through YouTube's new channel membership program, click the join button down below or check out the links in the description. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So the thing is, when it comes to the World Championship, I want to preface this video by starting off and saying I don't want to take anything away from the players attending the World Championship this year or any year that they've attended prior, because I'm not looking at this on a micro level, and I'm not looking at this at the players who are specifically in attendance. I'm looking at this solely from a macro perspective and the World Championship as a whole in terms of how it's formatted and what could be done to improve the overall experience of the World Championship to get everyone just ultimately really fucking hyped to watch this event. Now, the thing is, when it comes to the World Championship, it's an event like no other, and that is just true in the most literal sense of that term, because the reasoning behind that is you have a format for the World Championship that is played nowhere else except at the World Championship. Now, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, how the World Championship works is that we don't abide by the current TCG ban list or the current OCG ban list. They actually take the two ban lists, meld them together, and whichever, you know, when you're looking at a specific card on both ban lists, whichever one has the harsher restriction, that's what's in place for the World Championship. So let me give you guys a couple of examples. So take, for instance, Max C. Max C here in the TCG is at 0, but in the OCG, it's at 3. So the more harsher restriction on Max C is that it's banned, so that means Max C is banned for the World Championship. Conversely, take a card like Terraforming. Terraforming is at 3 here in the TCG, but Japan, or the OCG rather, only has it at 1. So that means for the World Championship, it's only going to be legal at 1 copy. Another restriction you guys have to keep in mind is that you can only use cards in the World Championship that are legal in every single region around the world. So even though the OCG has Summon Sorceress and TCG North America has Summon Sorceress, because Europe doesn't have Summon Sorceress is not legal for the World Championship. You can also say that with something like Needle Fiber. Needle Fiber is only available in the OCG, but it's not going to be available in the TCG, which means it's not available for the World Championship. And I think that's a good thing, but that's for another video. The thing here is, it creates this format that only the players attending the World Championship really have to abide by. And I think this is a really bad thing because people don't get invested into a format that's so premature and so undefined that they really just don't care about it. Let me give you an example why. You know, working up to the North American WCQ or the European WCQ or the equivalent in the OCG for whatever tournaments they need to qualify at to go to the World Championship. Players have been planning for weeks, if not months, competing at regionals, YCSs, fine-tuning their decks to the appropriate ban list that's going to be in effect for that given format. And so players, especially more so around national season, are more invested in the game than ever because they really want to do well at these tournaments and have a shot at maybe, just maybe, getting the opportunity to play in the World Championship. So people have dedicated so much time in studying the format, learning the little intricacies of different matchups for what the decks they might play or play against. There's so much time that people are investing in learning this particular format for the national season. Now, when we get to the World Championship, what happens is that just all completely dissipates because now we're in a format that, isn't anything like what we've been competing in or trying to basically prepare for the past few months. And it's just so different that if we're not the ones competing in it, it doesn't really pertain to us because, we don't have that level of emotional investment because, it's a completely different format, so why do I really care about it other than just watching it for pure spectacle? And that's perfectly fine, but I feel like getting people emotionally invested into the World Championship, it's going to have a lot more people wanting to watch and get people more excited about it in general because they're going to have a much deeper understanding about the format itself, maybe certain plays that the players are making. And it's not this format that's only a couple weeks old that the players competing in the World Championship only had a specific amount of time to figure out. So it's not exactly an optimal case scenario, whereas if it was an older format or the format that they played for the WCQs, these players are going to be experts at it and they could be playing at a completely different level by comparison. Now, some might argue that that's kind of the appeal of the World Championship, is that the players have to show how good they really are by learning and adapting to a new format in only a couple of weeks. And while that may be true, I don't exactly feel like that's the pinnacle of competitive play because there's a lot more room for errors and misplays because the players don't understand the format nearly as well. And that kind of moves on to the next point, is that how the format is basically just stemming from all of us being divided by region, and that's basically because we have so many different variables, like different ban lists, different card pools, all these different things across all the different countries around the world are so vastly different that it's something that really takes an effect when you look at it in the context of the World Championship. I mean, look at the OCG. The OCG gets products months in advance compared to the TCG, and then sometimes the OCG gets products that we don't even get here in the TCG for sometimes even years later. So it's just crazy, just the disparity between the different regions and the card pools that we have available. And then when we finally get those products here in the TCG, it may or may not have the cards that were in the OCG, or it might be different. And then you have to factor in TCG exclusives, and then you have jump promos, and it's just an utter mess. And the thing you have to realize is that rather than having us be divided by region, by card pool, by ban list, if we were all unified under the same umbrella, under the same ban list, under the same format, under the same card pool, could you guys imagine how excited people would get? Not just, from North America, but from Europe, but from Asia, from Australia, all around the world, because we're all playing in the same format, under the same rules, under the same ban list. All the variables have been equalized, and now people can all discuss and talk about it because we don't have these differing things that actually drastically shift formats between the different regions. And I think from a viewer perspective, that makes it so much more interesting because when you have the TCG compared to the OCG, we're already playing two completely separate formats as it is. But then when you throw the World Championship into the mix, it's like another completely different format on top of that, just because our formats are already vastly different. But imagine if it were the same, like in April, we got an OCG and TCG ban list that were exactly the same. We had the same cards available. Then we all could work together, solving the format together. And then when it finally gets to the World Championship, we've all spent weeks, months learning the format, understanding the format, and we are going to see some of the highest levels of competitive play, and the one true winner will be crowned. I think that would just make for such a more exciting experience because everyone understands where the game is at. Imagine like in basketball if they just changed the shot clock to be like half the normal normal length, or you had to play with a different number of players, or they just started shifting the rules because you're playing in the playoffs. Or the same thing goes for hockey or football or whatever sport it is that you like to watch. That would be the equivalent to if they did that in real sports. And I guess if we're keeping on with the sports analogy, I think one of the biggest things that the World Championship, at least for me personally, is missing is that investment in a story. Anytime you guys watch a sporting event, whether it's football or basketball or hockey or whatever it is, especially when the finals roll around, there's a story to go with it. Whether there's an unstoppable juggernaut of a team that's about to go for like their 5th or 6th consecutive win, or there's that Cinderella team that managed to make it all the way to the finals that no one was ever expecting to do so, and so everyone wants to cheer for them to just upset who everyone was just expecting to win in the first place. It kind of gives you this hero and villain, or this protagonist, antagonist. It gives the finals, or it gives the championship, a plot. It gives it a story, and it builds that human interpersonal connection that I think a lot of us really yearn for, and gets us excited more than the sport in general. But by building and creating that connection, we have something more to root for than just the game itself. I know a lot of people, especially when it comes to the World Championship, are going to be rooting for the players that are representing their specific country, but the players that are competing at the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship, I guarantee you, are way more than just their national identity. If they were to interview these players, find what their motivation was, or what struggles they had to face to get to the championship, and what hardships they had to go up against, people could decide, you know, I want this person to win, not because of the deck that they're playing, but because of their story, or because of their personality, or the types of things that really just make that human raw connection really so special and symbolic, and what just really just is completely emblematic of why we love sports or games or anything that we create a connection with. That's ultimately what it is. It's more so the human connection than the game itself. Now, this may just be my opinion, and I might be thinking way too much about this, but I really just want to see the World Championship be the absolutely most greatest event that it possibly could be, especially in terms of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! I want to see some of the most phenomenal gameplay I've ever seen. I want there to be a hero. I want there to be a villain. I want there to just be that story that we can look down upon, 10, 15 years later and talk about, hey, do you remember with this championship what happened? Those moments are capable of happening now, but I think there could be so much more done to kind of really showcase that, especially from a viewer perspective who's sitting at home watching on the live stream. But guys, those are just my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the World Championship in general, and how you think, is there more that can be done about it? Do you feel like the World Championship would be better if it was unified and we all had access, to the same card pool, the same ban list, or do you think there could be more done from a human perspective to really just kind of tell a story more than just the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game? I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. And if you found this video informative, consider backing me on Patreon, or consider becoming a YouTube channel member. Because just by contributing any amount, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.